Hi everyone, I'm Carlos Cortez and I am in Sydney right now, and I will be talking about a few things about how the technology changed through the years. And now I will talk about the impact of cloud computing using Amazon Web Services here in this world. So for make the agenda for these 10-minute sessions, we'll be covering a lot of things like the impact of this technology in all of our society, and the moral and ethical perspective and technology's perspective on how human understanding and knowledge changes and when this technology became available for us. So cloud computing and Amazon Web Services is so related. Cloud computing, it is a word that is not new. It's began in the 60s like a terminology, and then in 2006 Google CEO mentioned in a conference in the August 6th about this new world that is related to something that we can make it as a service, and someone on the other side of the world can access to it. So it's related to if cloud computing is like it is someone else's computer. You can access someone else's computer to use the services it's inside. So regarding the August 2006, at the same month, the 25th of that month, Amazon Web Services launched the first AWS service EC2 instance. So EC2 instances like virtual machines. So we're going to talk a lot about regarding this technology, not only Amazon Web Services or its services by itself, but we have to talk a lot about what the development inspired within the industry, what Amazon Web Services did using cloud computing technology in order to make the industry change a lot. So for example, who can access to that technology? Well, Amazon Web Services made a lot of AWS services like virtual machine accessible for everyone, not only big companies. So that was something really good to happen, because before cloud computing and before Amazon Web Services launches these virtual machines accessible for everyone, not only companies with millions of dollars or big machines and virtual or servers in the racks on their buildings, like we call now on premises, can access to this. Now everyone can access to this who has credit card or maybe a few credits for use the cloud, can access to these high performance end computers and can develop their own application in these computers. So that's a very interesting thing to remember. So but because we're using someone else's computer, there's a lot of ethical perspectives inside of it. For example, what about it moral and ethical uses, including that include security and privacy perspective. So we are using another computer from someone else. What's about my data? Who is treating my data? Who is managing my data? So that's a very important thing, because we're using the cloud. We are making things faster and innovative. But if we are some kind of government agency, or we are just a company who has strict policies, we don't want anyone to access our data. So Amazon Web Services within the cloud computing industry created some kind of strategies and frameworks to each of one of those, as end users can develop a lot of things in the top of their architecture of their new business models to protect themselves and to provide transparency to what they are doing. So they are trying the best, but probably there's not sufficient things to prove that actually what is happening behind the scenes. So there's a lot of this kind of conversation going on right now in 2022. So that's the ethical issues of cloud computing. Security, privacy, compliance of the government is always an issue with treating this kind of new technology. But I'm telling this, it's not new technology, but because every year is creating and innovating a lot of things inside cloud computing, like machine learning and artificial intelligence. So, what are the immediate effects of that development? For example, what happened when the first Amazon Web Services launched these virtual machines instances and other services after these launches? What happened with the people? They start working on it, start competing more, start creating more applications and faster. And of course, one of the things that Amazon Web Services sells frequently to the customers, to us, is like we have to develop our application, develop faster. So that's something interesting to remember. Fail fast in order to be succeed, in order to be innovative, in order to make our time to market a little bit less. So do we have any issues in adopting? Of course we have a lot of issues, because it is the training perspective. We don't have the expertise. There is a new technology and developing a lot of faster and faster and faster each month. We don't have any news by years. We have news by months or maybe weekly. So they are innovating fast. So our end users, so us as customers, are innovating fast also. From the cost perspective, also it is needed to be reviewed, because before cloud computing and Amazon Web Services, the cost of some server or private server back in on-premise instance was bigger. So after now that we are using cloud computing, the cost, the strategy is a little bit less. It is accessible. It is billed by second or by hour or by month, instead of you have to pay first and then you can tell if it's needed or not. So the demand is convenient when using cloud computing. Okay, so for example, other interesting question regarding all this analysis, it is what other longer projects did the technology inspire the creation of? So I'm going to talk about very shortly in this next 30 seconds about two technologies that Amazon Web Services inspired the creation. So one of the serverless and containers. Serverless and containers really are the result, the output of enhancing more and more the cloud computing technology, service-based platforms that can develop faster applications instead of operating system by yourself or buying stuff. You don't have to create servers, you don't have to configure nothing, just put your code and start running it. So that's the main thing when thinking about serverless application, not using infrastructure anymore. Just focus it on your business. And the other thing is machine learning or artificial intelligence as a platform. So now we can think about running big models like BERT, or like the one who is running through Alexa, or any other big models, artificial intelligence models. Then we need big machines, but we can run it on the cloud. We can just run it by hourly basis, and it's gonna be a lot more efficient than buying a big machine and running by itself and spending thousands of dollars. You can just spend a couple of dollars and test one of the big models outside that Google are developing, Amazon or Tesla or any other company, or IBM is developing like Watson, so we can test it a little bit faster. So there is a lot of this perspective that really interesting that you can care about cloud computing. So how do we can just summarize all these great things about cloud computing using Amazon Web Services? I just want to tell you 4 key points that is going to be needed for you to remember. So the first of it is the moral and ethic conclusion. So security and privacy are one of the most important things you have to care about. So if you need security, you have to train yourself to make your applications better and secure. from the beginning, from scratch. So one of the things Amazon Web Services always told us is to security is something that you can have to develop from the ground zero. So it's a priority. So the next one is the innovation perspective. So in order to make your applications, you have to develop fast. Because this world is so disruptive, everyone wants, there's millions of startups creating different things. So you can create faster and you can test your model if it's good or not. You can test your application if it's good or not to the society and put to the world, and fail or succeed in a short period of time. It's going to be good. So the second thing important you to remember using cloud computing, Amazon Web Services cloud computing, is you can innovate a lot more faster than anyone else. And the third one, it is the disruption. Because it's disruptive, what it does mean? What does this word disruptive means? So it's because we are competing with everyone else. Doesn't matter if it's a big company or not. It's gonna be disruptive. It is because it's gonna be so competitive with the big players or with legacy players. So no matter if we are small company or just starting a startup company, we can use the same technology as Netflix, as IBM, or as any other big company that they are creating stuff like Tesla or Google or the same Amazon by itself. So we have the same technology and we can use it. So they have to care about how they change. I mean, the legacy player, the big companies, the big elephants, how they gonna change their building strategy, their sales strategy, how they gonna change their I might say the pricing strategy also, because now we have access to all these resources in cloud computing using Amazon Web Services. We can have the same power of computing as Netflix or any other else. So it's gonna be competitive, and that's the disrupting technology that we care about now, and we have to build applications using that kind of tools. And the fourth thing is about something that is missing, and you have to understand that training is very important. So when we talk about cloud computing, there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of companies that want to develop applications that scale to millions of users, and they scale to millions of users. Of course, they can develop better and they can earn a lot more, but the lack of resources available and the lack of expertise. And we have to take in mind that we have to take training on this. The learning curve of cloud computing is interesting. It's not so hard as other learning curves, but of course we have to discipline ourselves to take that kind of training and to deliver better and to be better professionals. If we want to change careers, it's a good starting point in cloud computing using Amazon Web Services. So always a cloud computing engineer is needed in this world, because everyone is running cloud computing services. Everyone, like more than 40% of all applications around the world, use Amazon Web Services for their applications, including Netflix, Spotify, the NASA, the governments, and a lot more. So the five key point I want you to remember is the compliance. Although I say that we can use the Amazon Web Services and cloud computing in every industry possible, the government has some specific restrictions, policy, and constraints about the using of the cloud. For example, here in Sydney, if we can use Sydney's region, Amazon Web Services Sydney's region, and we are thinking about developing disaster recovery plans outside of the country for other country. If something happened to this region in Sydney and we have to develop that kind of DRP in another region, is not going to be possible. Within the Australia's border, there is no other region but the Sydney region. So for example, we have to make some kind of backups outside the country, and the government has said that it's not possible to do that because some kind of restraint and limitation of the government says that everything and data about the government is maintained within the borders. So that's something that we need to keep working on in the cloud computing industry, because cloud computing is meant to be globally without borders. And we know that governments and countries have a lot of restrictions. So that's one of the key points, and to start researching more and start developing more within cloud computing industry. So I hope you can just take advantage of these 5 key points of all these cloud computing, and wake up yourself and start working on your cloud computing career and start developing these kind of skills. So I hope you can remember all these key points where we talk about cloud computing. Remember all this, because it's going to be a very insightful for your career in cloud. I'm Cortez, and I hope you can talk to me, and see you soon in class. Bye bye.